program, ladies and gentlemen. Ow! Tobin and Leroy here with you on 560 WQAM, taking you up until 2 o'clock this morning. We are streaming live on Twitch. Is our handle still JFig? I think it is. But it's getting fixed. It does. We got QAM graphics and all that, and it's QM colors, but we don't have the.
Hey, what mic are you using? I mean, not mic. What camera?
I'm using my laptop right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Give Marcos mine. Anyway, giving you some updates here. Your sports update brought to you by the new Palmetto Ford Truck Super Center. Why buy your truck at a car store? Palmetto Ford.
We know trust.
So, speaking of Tua Tagovailoa, the NFL Players Association is currently investigating what the hell happened in that Week 3 game against the Bills, where he, got wobbled and couldn't stand, and then came back and kicked the Bills' ass. I think that should be part of the details. Yes, like when we're doing this investigation, can we always make sure that part of the investigation is that even if he was unhealthy, he still kicked the Bills' ass?
It wasn't a who's the backup quarterback for the Dolphins that went back out? Matt
Moore.
Matt Moore. It wasn't a Matt Moore situation where they sent him back in and he was wobbly.
He missed a play
when he went back in.
Yeah, that was not good. Yeah,
no, but I'm just saying he was wobbly. He went back in, and you could still see he wasn't there.
He was all foggy.
When Tua came back and they said, "Oh, he said it was his back." Watching him play, you thought, "Oh, okay." Like it looked weird, but now here's the thing, that the question I have. It's an independent neurologist or whatever that makes this determination. The Dolphins, or at the time the Bills, have nothing to do with that. All they know is whether he's in protocol or not. So once the Dolphins hear that he's not in protocol and he's fine, how do they become responsible if they put him back in?
Well, I think it's a couple things. One, I don't know, even if he's independent, do we know like what communication he has with the team doctor? I don't know.
That's probably where the investigation. Hey, did the team have any interaction with this independent guy, or did Tua have a say so, or was it truly independent? Now that's the question. If there's an investigation, that's the question that needs to be answered. But if it's independent, all the team can do is go by what the guy is telling them.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is from Pro Football Talk, Mike Florio. He writes, on the surface, in the situation that emerged last Sunday involving Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, can seem complicated after seeing Tua stumble, nearly fall with his head, or was it a head or back injury? The NFL Players Association believes it's far more simple than that. Per a source of knowledge of the union's thinking, even if it was a back injury, Tua shouldn't have returned to action. Spinal cord injuries can be serious, very serious, and if Tua did suffer a back injury that produced gross motor instability, why did doctors allow him to return? When the NFL Players Association and the NFL interviewed Tua this week as part of their ongoing investigation, the union plans were told to ask Tua a very straightforward and direct question. If you told the doctors you injured your back, what did they do to examine your back? It's possible there was no examination. It's possible that the examination may have included one or more flaws. Again, the goal is to steer the process away from a checklist of letting players continue to play and more towards evaluating players as patients, even if it means telling them they can't play. Doctors tell us that at the time there were no certain things we do for our own good. In most situations, we're on our own. And but the point is, this is a little bit of a change of things, though, right? Because there's no back protocol. Even if it is a thing that is
right,
your spinal cord, obviously very important. It's and I think when we all saw what happened to Tua initially, where on Thursday Night Football he gets slammed and his fingers go the way they do. Yeah, the back is part of all that, but now all of a sudden we're talking of something different. We're talking about something that's not independent if it's dealing with his back, because that was the one thing I had going into that week where I did question about sitting him or not, just because Mike McDaniel sounded that Monday very much like Tua was just banged up. Forget about the concussion.
Right.
He said back's a little jacked up, his ankle's hurt.
Right.
And we'll see.
He probably rolled his ankle from stumbling.
Yeah, maybe. But if he was that banged up and they had the quick turnaround, it's possible that they probably, they definitely could have erred on the side of caution because the turnaround was so quick.
Mhm.
But I really do think that one of the things that may be an issue here for the Dolphins is that, the player does want to play. Tua wants to play, right? Like he wants to go out there. He knows this is a big year for him. There's a lot on the line for him. There's a lot of money on the line for him.
See, I don't even think, like, as a player, all those things don't come into play when you're just talking about going out and playing.
Okay.
It's that's so far down. Like, you're thinking, we're 3-0. We got a chance to go on the road. I'm hot right now.
Right.
I'm on fire. I want to keep this going. And so from that standpoint, I get it. Now, I will say this. As a person with a bad back,
Mhm.
and you've heard some of the things I go through with a bad back.
You hang upside down like a bat.
You do have weakness in your legs at times.
Yeah. And I
there
thought,
are things I can do. But I've never, when my back has been at its worst and my legs have felt weak, I've never wobbled.
Right.
So
you think that was head?
I could pretty look without knowing what. I'm okay with everybody assuming that was
I am too.
a head injury. That being said, if the doctor said he passed concussion protocol, then where does that put the team?
I don't know.
You see what I mean?
I don't know. And then
now,
even if it doesn't, then what happens in the week in the follow-up?
And that let's do this also. We are quick to say that one injury led to the next injury. That might not be the case at all.
If it was,
we don't. That's that we're making that.
I get it.
We're jumping to that conclusion that if he hadn't had that injury on Sunday, that on Thursday that wouldn't happen, and that's not true. So let's not make that assumption or jump to that conclusion that if he was evaluated correctly on Sunday, then that injury Thursday wouldn't have happened. Because I'm going to tell you, one of the hardest things and the toughest things to deal with is being thrown to the ground on your head. And I'm telling you, when you look at concussions throughout the league, a lot of it is not just from a hit. It's from being thrown onto that hard-ass surface, or somebody falling on you and you're hitting your head. It's never about the hit. So how does that play into protecting players? Because he's gotten pushed and slammed. I won't say it was illegal, but
it was a rough hit, though.
Unnecessary.
No, he got, and don't forget, what was it, like 3 snaps beforehand? Remember, they called a roughing the passer on him because they went low on him.
Right.
It's possible they didn't want to call something on him because they just did a roughing the passer on him. You know, like it could be something like that.
Right, sure.
But that being said, like when you watched him that Thursday night, even when he was playing, he had that bad underthrow. Like I didn't feel like he looked as sharp as he had looked so far this year. He's looked really good.
He did look, and here's why I would also say that tends to lend to a back is when you have strength issues,
right?
Power issues. That's a back thing.
No, definitely. And even McDaniels talked about that in the leading up to the game. He's not just an arm thrower. Like he puts a lot of his body into his throws.
Right.
And I just thought when you saw him out there, he looked like a guy who just didn't have everything. He wasn't clicking all cylinders. No, look, props to him for trying to play through something. I think the thing that where this gets fuzzy is you admire a player who wants to play through something. It's a badge of honor.
And then question it when he doesn't. See, there's a lot of players that aren't 100%. But let's get to this. 80% or 75% of Tua is still better than
Teddy Bridgewater, for sure.
And so if you're evaluating that from a fan or a coach or a team perspective, then you asking the player, well, how much, I'm at 80%, I'm at 70%. And so it becomes, it's
and don't forget too, like, remember this was a thing last year where remember Brian Flores and Tua had a disagreement about his availability to come back. It was the Ravens game where he
right.
was supposed to he thought he was good to come back, and Flores didn't play him.
And then he ended up going in.
And then he ends up going in.
Right.
But this Mike McDaniel Tua marriage has been very harmonious, and they've been very close. They talk about, calling each other at 11 at night. And so if it is Tua telling his coach, I want to play, I feel good, there is no head issue. And like Mike McDaniel said, if his doctors are telling him he's good, there were no things as far as his knowledge, I don't know where that line is for Mike McDaniel, because I do feel bad where people are sitting here saying he should be sued, he should press charges against him. Right. It's like
the dude was crying, right? Like
crying days later.
And I want to say, like, I've had a situation like that. I had a situation my second year. It was Belichick's first year, and we didn't have that concussion protocol, right? I was taken to the hospital, right? I was taken to the hospital. They strapped me up, cut my face mask off, did a whole bunch of tests. You're fine. Brought me back to the game. I was on the sideline for the end of the game, right? I had a little neck brace on. That week, right, I went through all the testing or what have you. They put me in pads and had me hit. And, testing for concussion was a lot different then. And then on Friday, they did more testing. I was fine. I said, I can play. I'm great. And Bill said, we're going to sit you out an extra week. That just looked bad.
Yeah.
But this is without concussion protocol.
Right. Just going on field.
Right. He's just going on field. So
I do think that's one of the things too. Like, everybody's like, come on, bro. We all saw it, right?
So you want, but here.
But I think that's just why everybody's mad, right?
But let me ask you this. If the coach says, I don't care if he passed concussion protocol, I'm not going to play him, then can the coach also say, I know this player, he's fine?
Yeah.
Well, you see what I mean?
It's nothing, because it's a new relationship between them.